Hello, it's Paul. Welcome back to the channel. It's been 4 weeks to the day since I had my FUE hair transplant surgery, and I'm here to give you a little update on basically what's been happening since then. I do apologise I didn't give you a 3-week update because, in all honesty, there wasn't really much had happened since the 2-week point, apart from the hair had started to shed. So I didn't think it was worthwhile just putting that in there. Plus my first video hadn't really had a lot of views at that point, so there wasn't any questions as such. But stay tuned and I'll give you a good update as to what's been happening since then. Okay, first and foremost, if you like the content, please feel free to give it a thumbs up. Also hit the subscribe notification bell. It does help me out an enormous amount, but mainly it will give you a notification to tell you when I drop you a new video and keep you informed of the whole process. And also it doesn't cost you a penny, so one worth considering. Thanks. So this is me 1 day after surgery with the headband on. Now the headband's very important because after they've numbed you up, they'll inject your scalp full of saline, and big gravity being what it is, it will make its way down your face. So this is why a lot of people suffer with swelling. So if you can't get this headband, they should be able to provide you one. It's very important to wear it. I decided to take mine off at the 4-day point thinking I was in the clear, and yeah, and behold, my face started swelling, so it quickly went back on and I never had any problems. But it does take your scalp around 4 to 5 days to absorb that saline, which is why they recommend you wear it for that period in time. And yeah, like I said, you can always ask for one, and I would recommend wearing it for that full duration. Okay, so the 4-week point, I am happy to report that the hair has been shedding quite regularly, and I know a lot of people are kind of distraught about that, but if you read up on it, it's a good thing because it means the follicles have now got a good blood supply, and once they do that, they go through their shedding hibernation phase, ready for the sort of 3-4 month point to start emerging again. So yeah, it's a good sign that your hair is starting to shed, so don't be alarmed when that happens. In fact, I'm actually quite excited about it because I was worrying because nothing was actually coming out, and I thought, oh great, it's you know, it's not going to do as well as I was hoping. So yeah, very good sign. If you look very closely, you can see that the existing hairline, my old hairline, is now starting to grow, and it's looking quite obvious where it used to be. And obviously the area beneath that is thinned out a bit because of the shedding, but also you can see the red mark still quite prominent there. I'm not sure how long that takes to fade, but hopefully by November, December time there will be a fair amount of growth there which will be covering the area up. So yeah, that's where the hair stands at this moment in time. Things that I have noticed at the 4-week point, I have to be honest with you, the back of the head still quite, it feels sunburned. That's the only way I can really describe it. Hopefully most of you have felt what sunburn feels like. And the back of the head still seems quite quite sore. It itches every now and again, especially when I'm laying back on my head. It tends to itch quite a bit, and then it feels sore when you do sort of itch it. Not really sore, but just like I said, almost like a mild sunburn. But when I was actually getting my hair done, my partner, she was in the waiting room, and there was a woman in there complaining because it had been 3 months and the back of her head was still sore. So, you know, I'm not expecting anything to sort of change overnight really. So keep that in mind. If you do experience a bit of soreness in the donor area, as far as I'm aware, it's perfectly normal. Other things that I've noticed is that the scalp, particularly this area, still feels fairly numb. I'm told that that can take 3 to 6 months before the sensation starts to return properly. So again, nothing to really worry about there, but it's only this part that's actually numb. The rest of it, including the crown, I can feel quite well. So to be fair though, they didn't really make a lot of implants in the crown area. It was mainly this area, hence why it's, you know, with the trauma and everything, a lot of nerve endings have been severed. So it's going to take some time for those to repair themselves. Another one of the considerations, something that I've been asked about, is the PRP injections that most surgeons will offer you post-treatment. And what this involves, if you've not researched it already, is taking a sample of your blood and then putting it into a centrifuge and separating the plasma from it, and then injecting that plasma directly into the recipient areas, and the idea behind that is that the plasma part of your blood promotes growth and healing. So this is one thing I would definitely consider if I were a smoker or I had poor circulation, etc., or pre-existing health conditions, but and also if you're rapidly receding. So A, I don't smoke. B, I've not really got any underlying health conditions. C, I've got no circulation issues. And D, I think my hairline is pretty much not going to change much from what it looks like now. And even if it does, who's to say in 4 or 5 years I could get a little top up and just move a few more hairs from here to there. And from what I understand, the donor area, you can take a maximum of 6,000, give or take, depending on how thick your hair is. So there's plenty there left to play with should I want to go for that option in the future. And that's something, like I say, you might want to consider as well. So one of the big questions I've had from people I meet in the street, people I meet at work, family, friends, is why? There was nothing wrong with my hair before, so why bother? People will get it done for various reasons, and you know, it all depends on what you really want out of it, and in particular if you've actually got the hairline to support it as well. Because if you're completely bald or you're rapidly losing your hair, then there is a danger that you could end up having a transplant and then the hair recedes behind it. But being 46, you know, and having had this hairline for the last 15-20 years at least, there wasn't really much danger of that happening for me, so that was one of the things that made my decision clear. But the main reason for me why I did it was because basically, having had that receded look the whole time, there's very little you can do with your hair, and you're kind of restricted to crew cuts or a number 1 or number 2 all over, because anything else, it just looks silly if you try and grow it out and it looks like you're trying to cover it. And I've never really sort of, you know, drawn attention to myself in that way. The best thing for me to always have done in the past is basically just keep it short, and then it just looks like, you know, you're neither one nor the other. But surprisingly, over the years, the amount of people that would say to me, oh, you're losing your hair, you're losing your hair, because, you know, like I never noticed, I've never looked in the mirror before, so I wouldn't have known if they hadn't have told me. But the fact of the matter is I was kind of looked like I was losing my hair all the time, but it never actually happened. So to sort of kind of put an end to that sort of no man's land of losing my hair, not losing my hair, I thought, you know what, if I just straighten my hairline out, then I can actually do something with it. But that's pretty much why I did it. Ironically though, once it starts to fully grow through 15 to 18 months from now, the chances are I'm just going to end up keeping it this short. But there's a difference, there is a big difference between having your hair short because you have to, and having it short because you want to. And it's like when I left the forces, you know, I would be going on holiday 3-4 times a year prior to the pandemic, and people would say, did you not do enough travelling in your previous career? And I said, well, there's a big difference between travelling on their terms and travelling on my terms, not least of which some of the countries I visited, you know, obviously were questionable to say the least as holiday destinations. So yeah, it's that kind of mental philosophy for me. It's got nothing to do with vanity. I don't really like looking in the mirror. You know, this is my face, you know, like I said on the previous video, not the best looking guy in the world, I'm not the ugliest, so I don't really sort of spend that much time on my appearance. I don't sit there looking at every single individual hair, and you know, some people do, and if that's what works for you, then great. But for me, it was just a case of, yeah, you know, let's just do the best you can with what you've got, straighten the hairline, and then eventually when it starts going through, dye it, and like I did before, and yeah, just put your best foot forward. That's what it's about for me. Okay, so you can see the difference in growth from a few weeks ago, and well, it's grown quite a bit, but you can also see that there are areas that are starting to shed now. I mean, it's quite sort of, if I zoom out, you can actually see for yourself, it's actually quite, yeah. As you can see, the existing hairline here, it's a little bit prominent, and obviously the redness is still quite prominent as well. Okay, looking at the bright light, you can see the old hairline quite clearly, and you can see obviously the redness is going to take a little while to disappear or fade. Now if I go over here, if you remember my hairline before, it looks like that they've taken all the dark hairs and they've left all the grey there, because the donor area is kind of all grey now, whereas before it was a mixture of the two. But yeah, obviously in the light it exposes it a bit more, but as you can see on this side it doesn't look so bad. And similarly, if I was to turn around this side and show the other side, it's not actually that bad at all. So the thing is, it's going to get there eventually, it's just going to take a while, as I said before. And yeah, in different lights you can see different sort of stages of growth, and like I say, if you hold your head up, you can actually see it's definitely there. Some of it will obviously not fall out, but most of it will. But you know, at the end of the day, this is a long process, so we'll see what happens, won't we? Well, thanks for watching. That's it for this week. I will keep popping those updates in there and drop a video. Like I said, the best way to do that is to make sure you subscribe and hit the notification button, so you'll know when another video is posted. I will try and answer all your questions as well. If you've got any, feel free to drop them in the comments below. And other than that, I will see you in the next video and let you know how things are progressing. Cheers.